Hello and welcome to the topic dermatomyositis in the module Dermatology. By the end of this topic, you should be able to define dermatomyositis, explain the pathophysiology of dermatomyositis, outline the causes and classification of dermatomyositis, describe the clinical manifestations of dermatomyositis, outline the investigations for dermatomyositis, discuss the principles of management and complications as well as the prognosis of dermatomyositis. Let's get started. So, what is dermatomyositis? It is a rare idiopathic long-term inflammatory disorders of the muscles with characteristic cutaneous findings. Derma means skin or leather, myo means muscles, and itis means inflammation. So in short, dermatomyositis is the inflammation of muscles with skin involvement. Pathophysiology of dermatomyositis includes the combination of genetic inheritance and environmental triggers. The genetic inheritance includes HLA class and cytokine polymorphisms, while environmental triggers include infectious agents like the coronavirus or drugs like statins. These triggers cause putative antibodies or other factors to activate C3 complements. By activating C3 complements, C3b and C4b fragments are formed. This leads to formation of C3b neo and membrane attack complex, which is MAC, which will be deposited in the endomysial vasculature. In this case, capillaries are destroyed and muscles will undergo microinfarction. Initially, there is perifascicular atrophy in the muscles. Eventually, necrosis and degeneration of the muscle fiber will occur. Cutaneous manifestation of dermatomyositis is caused by capillary necrosis. Capillary necrosis on the dorsum of the hand forms hyperkeratotic flat red papules on the dorsum, especially the knuckles. This condition is called Gottron papules. These Gottron papules can also be found over the elbows and knees. Capillary necrosis in the upper and lower eyelids causing red-purple discoloration with or without swelling is known as heliotropic rash. The cause of dermatomyositis is unknown, however, genetic and environmental factors are proposed to be the possible causes. HLA types such as DR3, DR5 or DR7 and polymorphisms of tumor necrosis factor are the genetic causes. The other genetic factors are immunologic abnormalities and circulating antibodies such as ANAs and anti-transfer RNA synthetase. The environmental factors that cause dermatomyositis are infectious and drugs. Examples of causative agents of infection are Coxsackie virus, parvovirus, echovirus, HTLV1, HIV, Toxoplasma species and Borrelia species. The example of drugs are hydroxyurea, statins, interferon, cyclophosphamide, BCG vaccine, and quinidine. So we classify dermatomyositis by using the Bohan and Peter classification or according to the age of onset. Bohan and Peter classification classifies the disease into three categories, namely definite, probable, and possible dermatomyositis. The classification depends on clinical examination, serum levels of skeletal muscle enzymes, electromyography, muscle biopsy, and typical cutaneous changes. This table shows the Bohan and Peter classification. On the other hand, we can also classify dermatomyositis into adult or juvenile onset. Adult onset dermatomyositis can be further subcategorized into classic with malignancy, classic as part of connective tissue disorder, or clinical amyopathic. For juvenile onset dermatomyositis, it can be subcategorized into either classic or clinically amyopathic. This table shows the subcategories of dermatomyositis according to the age of onset. Now, let's discuss the clinical manifestations of dermatomyositis. Patients with dermatomyositis usually complain of skin changes, proximal muscle weakness, and muscle tenderness. They notice the muscle weakness when climbing stairs, walking, rising from a sitting position, combing their hair, and reaching for items above their shoulders. And this is known as proximal myopathy. Systemic manifestations such as dyspnea, dysphonia, arthralgia, and arrhythmia may be present in patients as well. Some patients also complain of extramuscular manifestations such as systemic disturbances, gastroesophageal reflux, abdominal pain due to gastric ulcers, and limited joint movement secondary to contractures. We can also explore the symptoms of associated malignancy in patients with dermatomyositis, most commonly ovarian cancer. The other malignancies that are associated with dermatomyositis are lung, colon, prostate, breast, pancreatic, cervical, and hematological malignancies. When examining patients, we must look for some important signs to diagnose dermatomyositis. Skin changes are main signs of dermatomyositis. Dilated capillary loops at the base of the fingernail, along with cuticular hypertrophy and ragged cuticles causing nail changes, may be present on dermatomyositis patients. Dermatomyositis patients usually have musculoskeletal signs such as muscle tenderness, joint swellings, and joint contracture. If flexion contracture occurs at the ankle, a tiptoe gait can be noticed. Patients with pulmonary involvement can have abnormal breath sounds upon auscultation of the lungs. Last but not least, we must also look for signs of associated malignancy, as mentioned in the previous slide, among patients with suspected dermatomyositis. The picture shows cutaneous manifestations of dermatomyositis. We have Cotron's papule, heliotrope rash, and poikiloderma, which are pathognomonic signs identified in patients with dermatomyositis. Let's now move on to the investigations for dermatomyositis. Skin biopsy and muscle biopsy are important diagnostic procedures to diagnose dermatomyositis. Skin biopsy usually shows interface dermatitis picture, a vacuolar changes of the columnar epithelium and lymphocytic inflammatory infiltrates at the dermoepidermal junction basement membrane, as well as mucin deposition in dermis can be seen in the histopathological assessment. However, in muscle biopsy, perivascular and interfascicular inflammatory infiltrates, as well as muscle fiber degeneration or regeneration, can be identified. We can send some blood tests to the lab to aid the diagnosis of dermatomyositis. Patients with dermatomyositis will have elevated creatinine kinase level, aldolase level, AST level, and LDH level. This is a list of autoantibody investigations that can be done. Myositis-specific antibodies or MSAs occur in 30% of all patients with dermatomyositis. ANA is commonly positive but not necessary for diagnosis of dermatomyositis. Anti-Me2 antibodies test has high specificity but low sensitivity. Anti-Jo1 is associated with pulmonary involvement, Raynaud phenomenon, arthritis, and Mechanic's hand. Anti-signal recognition protein or anti-SRP is associated with severe myositis. Anti-PMSCL, anti-COO are present in patients with overlapping features of myositis and scleroderma. Anti-NXP2 is associated with calcinosis. And anti-P155140 is associated with malignancy in dermatomyositis. Imaging studies for dermatomyositis include MRI, electromyography, barium swallow, computed tomography of the thorax, abdomen, and pelvis, transvaginal ultrasonography of the pelvis, and mammography. The aims are to detect muscle inflammation, select sites of biopsy, and identify primary cancers. MRI is done to assess presence of an inflammatory myopathy in patients without weakness. It can differentiate steroid myopathy from continued inflammation. Also, it serves as a guide in selecting muscle biopsy site. Next is EMG. It is used to detect muscle inflammation and select muscle biopsy site. Barium swallow can be done to identify esophageal dysmotility. A CT-TAP can be used to evaluate associating malignancy. Ovarian cancer, which is the most common cancer associated with dermatomyositis, can be detected by transvaginal ultrasound of the pelvis. Mammography also can be done to detect breast cancer associated with dermatomyositis. If patient has pulmonary involvement, pulmonary function test can be done as well. Here, as for pulmonary function tests, you would specifically look at the restrictive form of airway disease, which commonly reflects interstitial lung disease, which is seen in dermatomyositis. Next, we have come to the last few parts of the module, which is the management of dermatomyositis. Dermatomyositis has no cure. The main aim is to treat, to control the symptoms. Corticosteroids are used to lower the immune response and reduce signs and symptoms of the disease. We start with high-dose steroids such as prednisolone, then gradually reduce until the disease is controlled to prevent relapse. However, long-term corticosteroid use may contribute to side effects such as osteoporosis, glaucoma, diabetes, cataract, weight gain, and osteonecrosis. Immunomodulator or steroid-sparing drugs, for example, methotrexate, mycophenolate mofetil, and IVIG can also be considered in patients with dermatomyositis. IVIG is reserved for refractory cases, and we can offer calcium channel blockers such as diltiazem, oral bisphosphonate, or intravenous pamidronate to treat patients with calcinosis. Surgical therapy in dermatomyositis is unnecessary. However, removal of focal areas of calcinosis can be done if the areas are painful and troubling. Physical therapy and psychotherapy are equally important as medical therapy in the management of dermatomyositis. We can recommend patients to have bed rest if they have severe inflammation. Physical therapy and rehabilitative exercises are recommended to prevent contracture and maintain muscle strength. To prevent dysphagia, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and aspiration pneumonia, elevation of the head of the bed can be suggested. Nasogastric tube can be put in for patient to increase caloric input if needed. Sun protection and avoidance, well-balanced diet, and replacement of protein are also the suggested additional therapies for patients with dermatomyositis. There are a few complications that may develop in patients with dermatomyositis. Calcinosis is more common in juvenile DM than adult DM. It is usually the late manifestation. It can cause muscle atrophy and joint contractures. And patients usually complicate with calcinosis cutis of dystrophic type. However, the mechanisms are not fully understood. So patients with oropharyngeal, skeletal muscle, or distal esophageal and gastric smooth muscle involvement may present with dysphagia. Dyspnea can happen in patients with pulmonary involvement, and aspiration pneumonia are usually due to gastroesophageal reflux. Let's discuss about the prognosis of dermatomyositis. It remits spontaneously in 20% of patients. 5% of them have fulminant progressive course with eventual death. Patients who survive the disease may experience residual weakness and disability. Children with severe dermatomyositis may develop contractures and require long-term therapy. Dermatomyositis patients with an associated malignancy, cardiac, pulmonary, esophageal involvement of older age group have poorer prognosis. The cause of death among dermatomyositis patients are usually due to muscle weakness or cardiopulmonary involvement, while some of them die associated to malignancy. In summary, dermatomyositis is a rare idiopathic long-term inflammatory disorder of the muscles with characteristic cutaneous findings. Combination of genetic inheritance and environmental trigger cause activation of inflammatory cascade, leading to degeneration of the muscle fibers and capillary destruction. It is idiopathic, but genetic inheritance and environmental triggers contribute to the disease. Classification of dermatomyositis includes the Bohan and Peter classification and according to the age of onset. It causes skin changes such as Gottron's papule, heliotrope rash, and poikiloderma. Patients also present with muscle weakness and contractures. It is diagnosed by skin and muscle biopsy. Blood investigations are done to look for elevated muscle enzymes and associated malignancy. Treatment of dermatomyositis include corticosteroids and immunomodulators. For calcinosis, calcium channel blocker or bisphosphonates can be used alongside with surgery if indicated. We have come to the end of this topic. Thank you.